Welcome to episode 26 of the Free Your Mind podcast. Now, today is off the back of a call I had last week where essentially this person come to me, and I'm going to have to change some of the details because to keep some anonymity, where essentially, long story short, right, they come to me and their life doesn't look the way they thought it would by now. Essentially, it's like, this is where I was going, this is how my life was looking, this is the money I was making, this is where I expected to be by now, and I'm not. I didn't expect to be here, didn't expect to be having this challenges going on in my relationship, I didn't expect to have this challenge going on in terms of financially, or in terms of where I live, or in terms of X, Y, and Z, right? Now, the reason I share this is because I find it really interesting. I see this a lot, where it's like the blueprint of our life doesn't match our actual life. I thought by now I would be richer. I thought by now I would have lost weight. I thought by now I'd have a six-pack. I thought by now I'd be living in this house or that house, or be here, or this many followers, or this many pound signs, or zeros after my bank balance, or this car. And it doesn't always just look like that. It can look like I thought by now I'd have kids, or be married, or not be divorced. I didn't plan to be divorced by now. I'm not, but you get the point. I'm just giving examples, right? Or sometimes it can even look like I thought by now I'd be happy. I thought, I've got everything on my fucking vision board, and I thought by now I would have time off, or I'd be tap dancing in the morning, or I'd be, doing some meditation as the sun rises, feeling zen as fuck. And yet I'm not. And I just find this really, really, really interesting, because if you're caught up in the outside world, right, then you think, shit, well, what's not working? I'll give you an example. I'm in this office, right? My whole life, I dreamed of having my own office. My own office with everything in it. You can't really see it, but it's basically a man cave. You could live in here. In fact, when my friend comes to visit, he actually stays in here because it is essentially like that. Let me just turn my emails off because that noise is irritating. I dreamt my whole life of this. And I remember when I first got in here, for the first few weeks, for a few months, it felt like, wow. And then there come a time where it's like, I need it to be bigger. I need it to have imagine if it's bigger. Imagine like a table tennis table that I'd play on my fucking own. Or I need it to be, it's a bit noisy outside, because I'm in the middle of town. It's like, I need it to have bigger windows. I'm kind of up high, third floor. I need it to have bigger windows. I wish it was quieter. This would be great if I could move it and put it somewhere in the countryside so I could look out over the hills. And then there's that's funny. Because I had many offices before this. Getting an office like this is difficult to find, firstly. Secondly, I've been in shared offices with glass, fucking walls, and no natural light, and other people coming in and knocking on my glass. Fuck off, leave me alone. I just like to be left alone when I'm working, especially when I'm on the phone and stuff, and the kind of conversations I'm having. You finally find this office, randomly, kind of out of luck, and never since found one that's the same, that's just on its own, no one in the building, everyone just fucks off and leaves me alone, no one knows where I am, and it's just this safe haven to just... But yet you're here looking for the next thing, looking at what's missing, looking at why it's not quite right. Same can be true for our house, right? You move, and then at first you move in, you think this is great, until you start wanting more, until you start thinking, well, it's okay, but it doesn't have this, this, and this, and this. And then you want the next thing. And the same can be true for things that, these are elements of things that potentially made me happy, or us happy, or whoever happy. There are also sometimes things we just don't like at all. Complete non-acceptance for. I'm fat and I've always been fat. Or, I don't know, my house is shit, it's always been shit. Why am I always in this shit situation? Or whatever it is, right? There can be times where circumstances don't necessarily look good, and we're beating them up. We're beating ourselves up. We can mentally beat the shit out of ourselves. So there can be two ways of looking at this, right? But where I was going is, if we're caught up in the outside world, the external world, it's very easy to think the circumstances need to change. That if this office really was bigger, then I would be happy. If I had more money in the bank, then I'd be happy. If this office didn't cost X amount a month and it cost half that, then maybe I'd enjoy it more. Or if I earn triple what I earn now, then I could have triple the size of office, and then I could have all sorts of things in it. And we create all these stories as to why circumstances could make things better. Maybe if I got a new wife, maybe if I got a new husband, maybe if I had more children or had less children, maybe if I killed all of my family and lived on my own in a hut in Thailand, or maybe if I fucked everything off and travelled the world, and some people have tried that. Maybe you've done that, maybe you haven't. They go travelling the world and they quickly find that no matter where they go, there they are. Because the one thing they didn't leave behind when they went travelling was their thinking. And they probably didn't know that that was the cause of their stress until they went travelling. And most people actually come back from travelling and still don't realise that actually the one thing they couldn't lose was themselves. So my point to this is, if your thought patterns, let me word this a different way. If you have the inclination to always chase, until you notice that, you'll always be chasing, never happy. If you have the inclination to always want the next thing, until you notice that, you'll always want the next thing and never be happy with what you've got. If you have the inclination to get fucked off at your current circumstances in order to motivate yourself to move forward, then you'll always be feeling fucked off with your current circumstances. That's the way this works. If your inclination is to use fear to motivate yourself, oh fuck, what if I lose it all? I can't stop. It's my worrying that keeps my finger on the pulse. I've got to keep worrying because if I don't, who will? Well, then you're going to have the inclination to always feel worried. And I'm not saying any of this is right and wrong. I'm just saying you get to decide, actually. You get to notice, is this really fucking useful? Is this really useful to me? And you'll notice that those thoughts keep coming back in different forms. They keep coming back, and there are strengths and there are weaknesses to it. But the more you notice this, the more you're able to see the usefulness or unusefulness in it because of the way you feel, right? I mean, if you're feeling stressed all the time and like you're going to have a heart attack, well, you get to decide if that's a good way of living or not. For me, no. You get to look at these thoughts in action. You get to explore, are these helpful? Are they useful? So what I'm trying to point to here is probably the main thing is what I'm always pointing to, right? Is noticing it's our thoughts. It's our thoughts in action always that are influencing the way we feel. Always. The thought that my life doesn't look how I thought it was going to look, right? Let's play that game together. If you think that my life is shit and it doesn't look how I thought it was going to look, what feeling comes up? What thoughts come up? For me, what comes up is I failed, life's shit, what's the point? I'm angry, now I want to go and change all of these circumstances. I'm annoyed at myself a little bit, I'm annoyed at life a little bit. There's part of this kind of victim mentality that says, woe is me, why is my life so difficult? Now, if I talk about myself for a second, that's not a great place to come from. If I was going for a job, I probably wouldn't come across very well. I'd come across needy, I'd come across angry, I'd come across desperate, probably. If I was looking to get clients, the same would probably be true. And that would mean that I am looking to change my circumstances in order to feel okay. But if anything, what I've seen is true for me. Again, we all have different thought patterns and inclinations, right? And paradigms that we look at life through or perspectives. I know because I've seen myself enough over these years to know that even when my life then become what was once on my vision board, I'd still be having the same thought process of, well, this is shit, because, yeah, okay, I've got the life that I wanted a year ago when I said my life was shit, but this still isn't where I want to be because I still don't have X, Y, and Z. So you could see how this cycle becomes this self-fulfilling prophecy, this perpetual cycle of the same bullshit. The only time that would change is when I change my perspective. Is this making sense? You can't answer me, so just say yes to yourself. It's probably the weirdest thing I've got you to do so far. Just smile and nod and say yes to yourself. So my point is here that the egoic mind is always tempting us with this dangling carrot. I'm just going to take my jumper off because I'm cooking. I'm burning up here in flow. The egoic mind is always going to tempt us. It's the dangling carrot. It's always dangling something in front of us, whether that's people, humans, relationships, money, success, whatever the ego thinks we want or need in order to be okay. It'll be dangling that in front of us. And for most humans, that's invisible to them. They don't know that's happening because they are convinced by the illusion. Some people continue to be convinced by the illusion most of their life. Now, some people can't get the carrot, so then they just give up. And what's the point anyway? Some people keep chasing the carrot. They keep seeming to acquire carrots along the journey, but never the carrot they really want. So they just keep going from the place of, more is better. So, but what I want to get to here, where I want to go with this in this conversation is this really the best way of living? Is this really the best way to live, the most enjoyable way to live? Now, if you listen to this, it's probably because, like me, you like success, you like things, you like money, you like achieving, you like the game of life, right? You like winning at life. So there's very little chance that you and I are going to suddenly just become very content, sit cross-legged on our sofa, in like a monk or something in our own monastery, and just become content and settle, because there's another thought process in play there. I'm willing to bet that you're don't like the idea of contentment and settling. It's probably not in your nature. So therefore the thought of slowing down and becoming content probably feels like your worst nightmare. So there's something else there. But what I'm trying to point you to is, what if that settled down state, that curious, playful, intriguing, interested state is the best way of coming at life? Like, we can come at life from this place of seriousness and panic and stress and fear and chasing and searching and hunting down and running away from. Or we can come at life from this place of fun, playful curiosity, intrigue. We can laugh at ourselves, we can laugh at life, we can laugh at the challenges of life, but we can still do well. We can still achieve but without the seriousness. Chase but without the illusion that will somehow make us complete, because we're already complete and we're already happy, we're just having fun. You can chase a carrot the same way that you can chase a football, right? I don't know about you, but put me on a football pitch, get me outside running, and it's fucking boring. I've done it many times, but it's boring as shit. Put a football in front of me, tell me to chase it, and I'm there. And I'll outrun anyone on the pitch. Even, well, probably not the 19-year-olds. I can't really keep up with them anymore. I'll try. I'll just ache a lot more the next day. But give me a football to chase, and I'm there. But I'm not chasing the football under the illusion that if I finally catch it, suddenly I'll feel happy and complete and my relationship will be better and I can finally feel okay and I can finally then get the praise from myself and the recognition from myself and the recognition from my parents or the world, and everyone's going to clap me. I'm just chasing the football because I enjoy it, because it's fun. Because life disappears and I become so absorbed in that moment, in that flow state. I go because it's fun. What if we chase the carrot the same way that we chase a football? Now, if you don't chase a football, put something else in there, right? Something else that's wholesome and enjoyable and a game to you. What if we chase the dangling carrot from that place? It's just fun. I just love seeing what I'm capable of. I love seeing what I'm doing. I love seeing the impact I make. I love seeing what happens when I do different things. Like, what if we come at life from that place, that intrigue? Yeah, my life looks shit right now when I think it looks shit. That's interesting. What if I didn't think it was shit? What if I found ways of enjoying this? What if I found things to appreciate? What if I accepted this as my life? What if this is my life forever and it will never change? What if acceptance of my life currently is going to empower me the most to actually change it? What if the things I think need changing don't need changing, but I'm in such a shitty state right now that everything looks crap? What if settling into a state of peacefulness and acceptance would enable me to see clearly, see clarity, and know what am I inclined to change and what am I not? What can I do from that place? What can I do from a place of everything is okay, I'm good? How much more potential do I have? Creativity, passion, purpose, clarity from that place. If I'm not using my thinking to make up stories about how everything's going wrong and how everything is everything's going wrong and I need to think of all these 7 different ways of surviving. If I'm not using the bandwidth of my thinking to constantly fight these imagined dragons, Imagine Dragons? Yeah, that works. Imagine Dragons and fears and nightmares and worst case scenarios. If I'm not using all of my mental bandwidth for all of that stuff, what would I use my thinking for? How would I play the game if I couldn't lose? How would I play the game if my thinking was wrong basically all of the time? And rather than use my mind like this detective that is always looking for problems to solve and always seems to have this seriousness to it, what if I use my mind in this playful, curious, interested way where I got to have theories about what might happen, and I got to playfully explore the different possibilities and what I would do in different scenarios. What I'm trying to point to here, I'm losing my words here, hence the long pauses, because I'm running out of words, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. Is there's a different come from, there's a different energy, there's a different feeling. Like for me, when life becomes serious, I become fucked off at myself, become fucked off at life. I don't laugh at anything. I seem to be angry. I seem to be chasing. I seem to be looking to things that are going to make me feel okay. And then fucked off at myself when I'm not okay, or when I get things wrong, and every decision feels weighted and heavy. Everything feels like the whole weight of the world rests on your decisions and your actions and your moods and your emotions and your thoughts. But there's a whole different come from. There's a whole different place to come from, which the only words I have is settled down, peaceful, curious, playful. I find myself more interested, more curious, more common sense, more wisdom, more understanding, more humor. And that's the best I can do in this conversation. You'll hear what you hear. You will know the emotions I'm pointing to. You may have even felt them as I use certain words. And there's a ton of questions in here. So that's my invitation to you in this moment, is to sit with this, to ponder it, to get curious about what the fuck is this James guy talking about? And curious about how does this conversation relate to me, or you in this case? Curious about how life would live, curious about why I can't even use words today. Curious about about what it would feel like to live from that curiosity, that game where nothing's quite as heavy as we make it out. Because you will notice that there seems to be life. This is life. And if you're watching YouTube, you'll see my hands, and I don't know if that helps or not, but this is life, right? If you're listening, I'm not really doing a lot with my hands. I'm just waving them around. But we have life, and life is what is. But then we have the stories that we create. An example I used in the call before this, and I will shut up soon, is I had a client that was selling his house and buying a new house. And he was moving into this house and he'd thought about how he was going to decorate it and all the rooms and what it means and how it would change things financially. And he'd basically mentally moved into this house and thought about everything. His journey to work, the distance here from his business, all of that stuff, right? And then he didn't get the house and he was devastated. And it was like he had both bought the house and lost the house in the space of like a week. Because in his head, that's what had happened. But in life, none of that happened. In life, nothing had changed. In reality, he had not gone anywhere, moved anywhere, bought anything or done anything. That whole experience happened within his head. I've seen it when people sell their business too, where they don't think they're ever going to sell it and they can't imagine how it's going to happen. Then someone is buying it from them. And then in the time between when they're going to sell it and it being sold, they then worry about that person pulling out. So now it's like they've not sold the business, also sold the business, also lost the sale of the business in their head. But nothing has changed. At no stage during the reality of the situation did anything actually happen. It happened in their mind, right? Same is true for the person I mentioned on the beginning of the conversation. Getting a new job. The new job will change everything. So you go from this kind of, this worthless, hopeless feeling to, oh my God, this can change everything, to then this fear of what if I don't fucking get it, to then this fear of what if I can't do it, and then how's that going to change things? You see this shit we create in our head, right? These stories and the drama, and it becomes serious. That's why I say, why so serious? Because it's a pointer home. It's a pointer home to, my ego, I don't know what that was about. My ego is, or our egos generally, are very serious, very heavy, very serious, very weighted, likes to be right, always imagining the worst, needing to prepare for the worst case scenario. And it's just worth noticing. So I'm going to leave it there. If you have any insights from this, please share them with me, because that makes this more enjoyable. Otherwise, I'm talking to myself for no reason at all. And the only feedback I get is from my clients, which is cool. So do that too. But if you've had insights from this, if you find it useful, then YouTube, you can comment below. iTunes, you can leave a review. Spotify, I don't think you can do anything. So you can do fuck all. SoundCloud, you can also leave comments as well. Or find a way to let me know, because I like to know this is making a difference. I don't do this for... Well, I do it because it's fun, but I also do it because I like seeing people's lives change and hearing their insights. Because the insights that people get from the conversations are what make me feel alive. That's what inspires me to continue doing so. Also, if you find this useful, then please share it, recommend it, because the more people listen, the more people's lives change, and that's also cool. And then we can pat my ego on the head and tell him he's the big swinging dick. Billy Big Spuds. Clearly that made me laugh more than it should. Anyway, I'm going to stop talking. Pleasure as always. I hope you enjoyed this one. I know it was... Same as always, I go down all different tangents. I never know where I'm going. I just follow the flow of the conversation and it goes in different places. But notice your own flow of conversation too. I know this isn't a coaching conversation because you're not here in form in this moment. So, you know, in a coaching conversation, you would have far more space to explore your own thought processes, and I would be doing much less talking. But this is the best we've got, unless you obviously are a client or in some of my group programs, and that's cool, you know, whatever. But take some time to explore your own thoughts. Notice where your thoughts went. Notice the little insights. Notice the ahas. Notice the little tangents that your brain took you on as you was listening. Notice the parts at which you felt like something landed for you. Anyway, pleasure as always. I'm going to go now. Have a good one. Speak to you soon.